An ex-bowling prodigy with a rubber hand and a now-faceless terrorist back from the dead? These iconic characters and more are on their way back to a screen near you. It's time for a new generation of kids to worry about shooting their eyes out. Several decades after the classic holiday film A Christmas Story was first released, a sequel is in the works. A Christmas Story Christmas will bring back Peter Billingsley as Ralphie, the elementary school-age protagonist of the first film, now all grown up and facing the holidays yet again. Also returning for the sequel are Ian Petrella as Ralphie's brother Randy, along with Zach Ward, Scott Schwartz, and Artie Robb as Ralphie's trio of friends from school. The story follows Ralphie's return to his childhood home in an attempt to give his children a Christmas like the ones he experienced as a kid. According to Deadline, Ralphie reconnects with childhood friends, reconciles the passing of his old man, and sows the seeds for the origins of the beloved holiday classic. A Christmas Story Christmas hits HBO Max on November 17, 2022, and is directed by Clay Kaytis and written by Nick Schenk. In 2020, Disney confirmed that a fifth installment to the iconic Indiana Jones franchise is on its way, once again starring Indy himself, Harrison Ford. At 78 years old, Ford will likely retire his trademark whip and fedora by the end of Indiana Jones 5, although the studio hasn't indicated whether he'll pass the baton to a younger generation or close out the franchise.
You show up every day, you do your job, and then they just let you go.
We do know that he'll be joined in his adventure by Phoebe Waller-Bridge of Fleabag fame, playing Indy's goddaughter Helena. Mads Mikkelsen from Hannibal will play the villain. He'll be joined by Oscar nominee Antonio Banderas, and John Rhys-Davies will again play Indy's trusted companion Sala. In the director's chair for Indiana Jones 5 is James Mangold. Mangold directed 2017's Logan, which served as the send-off for Hugh Jackman's Wolverine and Patrick Stewart's Charles Xavier. Logan offered a thrilling and satisfying ending for Jackman and Stewart's characters and earned Mangold an Academy Award nomination for Best Adapted Screenplay. While Indiana Jones 5 isn't likely to skew as dark as Logan, we hope the farewell to our favorite archaeology professor will be just as moving when the film hits theaters on June 30th, 2023. In the age of sequels, remakes, and reboots of what feels like every significant film ever made, revisiting one of cinema's most iconic horror movies was inevitable. Sure enough, The Exorcist 2, 3, and 4 are in the works from Fright Factory Blumhouse. The original Exorcist centers on a 12-year-old girl played by Linda Blair, who's possessed by a terrifying demon. Her mother, played by Ellen Burstyn, hires a pair of priests, played by Jason Miller and Max von Sydow, to perform an exorcism. Spoiler alert, both priests died in the original film, and Miller and von Sydow have since passed on as well. But Burstyn will be returning to assist the new protagonist Leslie Odom Jr. as he seeks help for his own possessed child. The first film in the new Exorcist trilogy will be released in theaters on October 13, 2023, although there's a possibility the following two films could premiere on Peacock. As far as bizarre action movie premises go, it doesn't get much weirder than Face Off. In this bizarre blockbuster, Nicolas Cage and John Travolta star as a terrorist and an FBI agent, respectively, who literally swap faces via a gnarly surgery in order to each take each other's place. Even though, spoiler alert, Cage's villainous Castor Troy is killed at the end of the first film, a direct sequel is now in the works from filmmakers Adam Wingard and Simon Barrett. Barrett and Wingard were quick to clarify on social media that they have no intention of reimagining the original, which Wingard considers a perfect action movie. Speaking to the Associated Press, Cage expressed enthusiasm at the possibility of reprising his role in the sequel, saying, "I would love to get back into that character and to work with Travolta."
God, I miss that face.
Wingard has expressed interest in seeing Cage return, telling Empire Online, "He's just having such a moment. A couple of years ago, the studio maybe would have wanted a hot, young, up-and-coming actor or something. Now, Nicolas Cage is one of the hottest actors in Hollywood again." Of course, as Cage's character is dead, it'll be interesting to see how they bring him back. But in a world as crazy as Face Off, anything is possible. On his 35th birthday, Julius Benedict, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, discovered he was separated at birth from his twin brother Vincent, played by Danny DeVito, after they were conceived in a lab as part of a genetic experiment. Twins followed the unlikely duo as they reconnected and uncovered the secrets of their past. 33 years later, the Benedict clan is expanding once again in Triplets. This time, Schwarzenegger and DeVito will be joined by Tracy Morgan as a yet unnamed third brother. Twins director Ivan Reitman was slated to direct the sequel until his death in 2022. In describing the sequel, Reitman told Deadline, "They don't know each other, and very early in the movie they meet. It's how they achieve a bond together after all these years. It's really a film about family, and no matter how different we all are, we have to learn to get along." Originally, the film was set to begin shooting in 2022 from a script penned by Dylan Dawson and Lucas Kavner. Without Reitman at the helm, we wouldn't be surprised if production gets pushed back. It was just a matter of time before the bizarre 1988 Tim Burton haunted house comedy Beetlejuice got the sequel treatment. Sure enough, Beetlejuice 2 is finally in the works from Brad Pitt's production company Plan B, with Michael Keaton and Winona Ryder expected to reprise their roles from the first film. Beetlejuice starred Keaton as the titular malevolent spirit hired by deceased couple Adam and Barbara Maitland to rid their former home of its living inhabitants.
If you don't let me gut out this house and make it my own, I will go insane and I will take you with me!
However, nothing goes according to plan. Lydia Dietz, the new homeowner's quirky teenage daughter played by Ryder, only narrowly escapes being married off to him. By the end of the film, the Dietzes and the Maitlands are happily cohabitating, with Beetlejuice banished to a waiting room for the non-living. Although the script for Beetlejuice 2 hasn't yet been written, we imagine it will find him finally returning to find Lydia all grown up. How his path will cross with that of his reluctant ex-fiancée is currently anyone's guess. Directed by the one and only John Carpenter, the 1986 fantasy adventure Big Trouble in Little China follows trucker Jack Burton, played by Kurt Russell, as he's drawn into the mystical underbelly of San Francisco's Chinatown. Hoping to save a kidnapped woman from the forces of darkness, Burton encounters ninjas, monsters, and an ancient sorcerer. With its mythic warriors and magical sword fights, Big Trouble in Little China has become a classic, so naturally, people were concerned when a remake with Dwayne Johnson was announced in 2015. As it turns out, however, the next film will actually be a sequel. Speaking to Collider, producer Hiram Garcia admitted, "You can't remake a classic like Big Trouble, so what we're planning to do is continue the story. We're going to continue the universe of Big Trouble in Little China." Garcia went on to explain that the events of the first film will still exist in the new Dwayne Johnson movie, but The Rock will be playing a brand new character. While that leaves room for Russell's return, the actor has said that he probably won't be in the sequel. Fans will definitely miss seeing Jack Burton back in action. We thought the day would never come, but it looks like Ridley Scott's is heading back to ancient Rome.
At my signal, unleash hell.
Nearly 20 years after the original Gladiator hit theaters, Scott is finally making a sequel to the story of Maximus Decimus Meridius. Of course, Maximus is busy walking through wheat fields in heaven, so what's the sequel going to be about? According to producer Walter F. Parks, the film starts 25 to 30 years after the original ended, and according to The Hollywood Reporter, Part 2 will focus on Lucius, the son of Maximus's old flame Lucilla. It does sound like Connie Nielsen, who played Lucilla, could come back. Speaking to Collider, Nielsen said that the sequel was still planned, and when asked if she would be willing to return to the role, she said, "It would obviously be amazing, and I know that a lot of people want to see more of that." Scott revealed in late 2021 that the script is already complete, and Gladiator 2 is queued up to be the director's next project once he's finished with Napoleon. With Scott at the helm, we're pretty sure we'll be entertained. Fans of the 1996 bowling comedy Kingpin are in luck because the sequel is rolling down the pipeline. The original film featured Woody Harrelson as a former bowling prodigy who believes he's found his meal ticket when he discovers an Amish bowling superstar played by Randy Quaid.
14-karat gold.
Really? Looks like rubber.
No, the ring, not the hand.
The film also starred Bill Murray as Harrelson's lifelong rival, as well as Vanessa Angel, Chris Elliott, and Lynn Shane. No details have yet been revealed about the sequel other than that Peter and Bobby Farrelly, who directed the first film, will be back on board to produce Kingpin 2. However, it's unclear whether the Farrelly brothers are intending to write or direct the sequel in addition to their producing duties. Similarly, none of the original cast is confirmed to be returning, although fans would surely welcome another chance to see Harrelson and Murray together on the big screen. Jim Henson's cult classic Labyrinth has a die-hard following thanks to its creepily fantastical storytelling, imaginative creature creations, and of course, an iconic performance from David Bowie as Jarrett the Goblin King.
I wish the goblins would come and take you away.
Making a sequel to Henson's final feature film is a pretty intimidating task, but the Jim Henson Company feels up to it. News of the Labyrinth sequel first broke in 2017, with Don't Breathe filmmaker Fede Alvarez attached to direct. However, Alvarez announced in April of 2020 that he was stepping away from the film. He told Bloody Disgusting, "I just decided I didn't want to do things as a director that people knew already what it was, or have a preconceived notion of how it should look on the screen, so Labyrinth would be something that people would judge that way, so I decided not to do it." Fortunately, the project didn't stay rudderless for long. In May of 2020, Deadline reported that Doctor Strange director Scott Derrickson had stepped in to helm the highly anticipated sequel. Maggie Levine, the writer and director of Into the Dark, will write the screenplay. We don't have any details about the plot, but back when Alvarez was attached, Project insiders confirmed to The Hollywood Reporter that the sequel would be a continuation of the story that began in the original film. As Bowie has passed on, however, the Goblin King will not be making an appearance. The first Lethal Weapon hit theaters in 1987, introducing audiences to the buddy cop duo of Riggs, played by Mel Gibson, and Murtaugh, played by Danny Glover. Since then, it's spawned 3 sequels and a television series. However, with no new Lethal Weapon film since Lethal Weapon 4 in 1998, it was a surprise to learn that Warner Bros. Intended to reinvigorate the franchise with a new entry. Prior to the death of acclaimed director Richard Donner, who directed the first 4 Lethal Weapon films in addition to Superman and The Goonies, producer Dan Lin said the 5th film was particularly special to Donner, who was attached to direct. In 2020, Lin told The Hollywood Reporter, "We're trying to make the last Lethal Weapon movie. Donner's coming back. The original cast is coming back, and it's just amazing. The story itself is very personal to him and to the cast, and so I really want to make that one." Of course, none of that may pan out as Donner passed away in 2021. However, in the wake of the filmmaker's death, Mel Gibson has confirmed that he is in talks to take over directorial duties, although a deal has not yet been reached. It's been almost 20 years since audiences followed effervescent sorority girl Elle Woods to Harvard Law School in the bubblegum-hued Legally Blonde. She continued to ascend the professional ladder in 2003's Legally Blonde 2 Red, White, and Blonde, which saw Elle head to Washington, D.C.
Hello, Patriots!
Now, Elle is back, along with producer Mark Platt and Platt Productions president Adam Siegel. In addition to playing Elle, Reese Witherspoon is producing through her Hello Sunshine banner. She's brought on Never Have I Ever creator Mandy Kaling and Brooklyn Nine-Nine creator Dan Gore to pen the screenplay. Also returning for the sequel is Jennifer Coolidge, who starred in both previous films as Elle's friend Paulette.
I love snow globes. I can hear the ocean.
There will be a lot of new faces in Legally Blonde 3 and a lot more diversity. Kaling told E! Online, "Reflecting the world as it is now is something that's really important to Reese, and so having there be diversity is super important. You can definitely count on that." A fan of the original film, Kaling is looking forward to revisiting an older and wiser and likely even more fabulous Elle Woods. In an interview with Access Hollywood, she said, "I can't wait to see what people will think of the way we wrote Elle Woods at 40. How Elle Woods is at 40 versus how she was at 21 has been really fun to imagine." But for those who worry that Elle may have outgrown the bend and snap, Kaling reassured fans, "Bend and snap is forever. We definitely have a lot of fan favorites from the original movie." Despite nearly 4 decades having passed since The Last Starfighter first wowed audiences, the time may be ideal for a sequel. Starfighter is about a teenager who beats a video game, only to discover that the game is really a recruiting tool looking for soldiers to fight an interstellar alien war.
I've seen him come and I've seen him go, but you're the best, my boy. Dazzling. Light years ahead of the competition, which is why Centauri is here.
Video games have changed a lot since then, which presents an interesting way to continue the story. Speaking to Movie Hole, Jonathan Betuel, the writer of the original film, said of the sequel, "It's not a remake, it's going to continue the story. What's changed is time itself, certainly as the video world and the alien world have continued to tick away. It's not a time capsule of the 80s by any means. We're taking it to the next level, passing the torch, or the joystick." Betuel will be co-writing the sequel titled The Last Starfighters with Rogue One, a Star Wars story screenwriter Gary Whitta. In March 2021, Whitta tweeted a sizzle reel that teases the plot of the film. From what we can gather, the story involves an alien attempting to assassinate an adult Alex, the protagonist of the first film. Alex then heads off into space to get to the bottom of things. It's been a long road, but Betuel is optimistic the sequel will finally get off the ground. The last National Treasure film hit theaters back in 2007. In other words, it's been a long time since we've seen Benjamin Franklin Gates.
Treasure is a myth.
I refuse to believe that.
There have long been rumors of a third National Treasure film, and while at times the project has seemed as lost as an ancient stash of gold, it looks like a new installment is finally on the way. In May 2022, producer Jerry Bruckheimer confirmed the film is in progress, with a script by Bad Boys for Life scribe Chris Bremner. The next step was to send the finished screenplay to the original franchise star Nicolas Cage. The project is apparently still in the works, despite Disney moving forward with Disney Plus series National Treasure: Edge of History. Along with Clerks 3, another Kevin Smith script that got polished during the 2020 lockdown, is the sequel to 1995's Mallrats, which he penned under the working title Twilight of the Mallrats. The plot of the original film revolves around a dating show being filmed at a shopping mall and stars Jeremy London, Jason Lee, Claire Filani, Shannon Doherty, Ben Affleck, and Michael Rooker. This time, instead of a game show, the plot will focus on a convention taking place at the mall. According to Smith, the whole thing is there's a big convention at the mall, so there's plenty of places and opportunities for things to happen. Smith has revealed that the entire principal cast of the first film will be appearing in the second. He even confirmed that iconic comic book creator Stan Lee, who passed away in 2018, will have a scene to parallel his cameo in the first movie. Smith confided to comicbook.com, "The thing I feel most clever about in regard to the movie, obviously one of us can't come back, right? Stan's gone. So there is a Stan Lee scene and it makes absolute perfect sense. Joining the team for Twilight and the Mallrats is newcomer Aparna Brielle, whom Smith says will be at the center of the sequel. He tweeted, "I was so impressed with Brielle, I built my next flick around her." Aparna will play Brody Bruce's daughter Banner in the movie I hope to shoot next, Twilight and the Mallrats. Twilight and the Mallrats is likely to wind up as a Peacock exclusive release. It has been more than 30 years since we last saw the fuzzy little nightmares who shouldn't be fed after midnight, but it sounds like the Gremlins could be returning to theaters in a new horrific adventure. A sequel to the original movie, Gremlins 2: The New Batch, was released in 1990. Original Gremlins screenwriter Chris Columbus has apparently been working on getting a third Gremlins off the ground. In November 2020, he told Collider, "I would love to do it. I wrote a script. We're working out some rights issues right now, so we're just trying to figure out when the best time to make that film would be. I would still do it the same way. I would do it as tangible puppets, not CGI." The rights issues involve Warner Brothers, which owns the name and franchise and greenlit an animated Gremlins series for HBO Max called Gremlins: Secrets of the Mogwai. Still, Gremlins director Joe Dante told Slash Film, "I think it's inevitable. The title is too well known to not do something with, so eventually somebody's going to do something with it, which is fine as long as there isn't too much CGI." RoboCop is back. According to Deadline, the cyborg is returning to the big screen, although it seems the new film's going to mess with continuity. The original RoboCop was directed by Paul Verhoeven, and it made a killing when it was released in 1987. After two sequels in the early 90s, the franchise was rebooted in 2014, with actor Joel Kinnaman and director Jose Paglia. The latest entry in the franchise will be called RoboCop Returns and will feature a fresh cast. In November 2019, Orion Pictures announced that Little Monsters director Abe Forsyth had taken up the helm of RoboCop Returns. The screenplay was originally written in 1998 by Ed Neumeyer and Michael Miner, the scribes behind the first film, with director Forsyth giving it a rewrite. Neumeyer had nothing but good things to say about the new version, telling Sci-Fi Wire, "What he came back with was really interesting. It felt relevant and really crackled." Dave Stevens' 80s cult comic book The Rocketeer clearly took inspiration from mid-century movie matinee adventure serials, and in 1991, things came full circle when Disney brought the story to the big screen. Billy Campbell starred as Cliff Secord, a 1930s stunt pilot living in Los Angeles who finds a jetpack that allows him to soar through the sky while evading the FBI, its inventor Howard Hughes, and the Nazis who want it badly. Disney thought it could launch a trilogy, but when the film underperformed at the box office, sequel plans were dead. In 2020, the company started work on a legacy-style sequel to be titled The Return of the Rocketeer. Now You See Me screenwriter Ed Reichert is writing the film, with actor David Oyelowo producing and possibly starring. The upcoming Rocketeer movie will follow a new character, a retired member of the famed Tuskegee Airmen who becomes the latest pilot to strap on the fantastic jetpack. While we don't know when it will be released, we do know it will land on Disney+. We are in the midst of an Eddie Murphy renaissance. After his heyday in the 80s and early 90s, Murphy faded from the spotlight. He's suddenly back in a big way, giving a critically acclaimed performance in 2019's Dolomite Is My Name, making a triumphant return to Saturday Night Live as host, lining up a new stand-up comedy special for Netflix, and announcing a sequel to one of his biggest movie hits, Beverly Hills Cop.
Yes, you have a reservation for an Axel Foley?
Marking the fourth installment in the Beverly Hills Cop franchise, the latest sequel will be a collaboration between Murphy and Netflix, since Paramount pulled the plug on Beverly Hills Cop 4 back in 2016. Murphy will be back as Axel Foley, the Detroit cop who repeatedly finds himself investigating crimes in Beverly Hills. Directing will be Mark Malloy, a rising filmmaker who's earned positive attention for his Apple commercials. Murphy has said he's ready to go as soon as the script is complete, and Will Beal, best known for story credits on Aquaman and Zack Snyder's Justice League, has taken on Beverly Hills Cop Axel Foley. Joining Murphy will be Zola breakout star Taylor Page and veteran actors Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Kevin Bacon. Additionally, Judge Reinhold tweeted some photos in September 2022 that hint he'll return as Foley's partner in crime fighting, Detective Billy Rosewood. After writing and directing the classic indie horror movies The Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2, but before he became the A-lister behind the original Spider-Man trilogy, Sam Raimi ventured into the superhero realm for the first time with Darkman. It's a dark comic book-like revenge thriller about a scientist who's presumed dead, but instead dons a hat, trench coat, and thick facial bandages to take revenge on the bad guys who nearly burned him to death. Oh yeah, he's also super strong and can create new faces out of experimental skin, but his disguises are sensitive to light, so they never last long. Darkman was one of the first big movies for future superstar Liam Neeson and three-time Oscar winner Frances McDormand. A couple of obscure straight-to-video sequels to Darkman already exist. Raimi had nothing to do with those, and he'd love to revisit the Darkman world. In 2022, he told The Wrap that his sequel was in the extremely early stages of development. There's a producer attached. I haven't heard the story yet or gone into it, but I think it's cool. Nothing in the way of creative crew, cast, or release dates has officially been confirmed.